Coming in Facebook, coming in YouTube, getting ready to start my show called Jimmy Rants over on Instagram. Good morning, good morning. Thanks for being here. We go live at 11 a.m. and so it's 11:01. Need to get this show on the road, but thank you guys for being here. As always, share all over your pages, and here we go. Would you eat a 3D plant-based steak over a beefsteak? Find out the details here today on Jimmy Rants. Click on that little box down there in the corner. It'll take you straight to IGTV for today's episode. JimmyRants.com is the website, and as always, you can engage live in the content. You got to go follow me. I'm over on Instagram Live, and so we go there Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Be there, be square. At Livin' Low Carb Man is my handle there, so go check me out. Livin' Low Carb Man, LIVINLOWCARBMAN. And you can engage live, just like all the amazing people coming in right now. Thank you guys for being here today on Jimmy Rants. We also simulcast over here on my Facebook page, where Norma and Kurt and Tracy and Hank and Rochelle have all joined here today. Many more coming in as we speak, so thank you guys for being here. Also over to my YouTubers, over there, and good old Shirley is always one of my first ones to watch on YouTube. So thank you guys all for being here for today's show. If you missed the live, we do have a replay over here on IGTV. As soon as the show is over, we do put it right up onto IGTV, so you can watch it there. We also put all the past episodes up over on YouTube. Type in a keyword Jimmy Rants, you'll find the show, or youtube.com/LivinLowCarbMan. And finally, if you like the show and you want to see all the past episodes and you're worried about censorship on social media, then they will always be at the official website. The videos will be at JimmyRants.com, and so go check out all the past episodes there. And if you like what we do here, definitely click on the Patreon link, and a donation of any amount would be greatly appreciated. Okay, you guys, today I've got a story that underscores the challenge that we in the real food movement have to face. And if we pretend like these kinds of things aren't happening, then they're going to keep happening and keep happening and keep happening, and before long they're going to become the norm. And a lot of people say, well, the food supply has a lot of issues, and we've seen it over the years in the junk food company. I just posted a picture on my stories here last week. I posted a picture about Hershey Kisses having a cereal now. So they've made a Hershey's Kisses cereal, and we see all kind of like crazy, crappy garbage type of foods that come out. And generally, the food companies, that's what they do. They get slick marketing, which takes a big time brand like Hershey's Kisses, and then to decide to do something like make cereal out of it. And all it is this slop mixture of grains, sugars, inferior oils, chemicals, and then they stir it all together and they make their slop. And that's been our number one concern when it comes to the food supply. Well, those of you that have been watching over the past few years, you know the plant-based movement is starting to get anxious and starting to say, okay, we're not liking this trend towards people eating animal-based foods. And so they have it, their mission, you guys, to eliminate all animal-based foods from the diet. But how do you do that? How do you eliminate a part of the human diet that people instinctively, by their very nature, deep down inside, have this quest to want to eat meat? And whether we want to believe it or not, and whether vegans want to admit it or not, we all have this primal desire for meat in our diet. And so what have the vegans come up with? Over the past few years, we've seen what they've come up with. They have the so-called plant-based burgers, so the Beyond Meat burgers, the Impossible Foods burgers. In fact, the CEO of Impossible Foods has stated that one of his goals with his company is to eliminate all animal consumption by the year 2035, which is 15 years from now. And what I'm about to share with you here today is yet another one of these technologies and advancements or devolvements is what I'll call them in the technology that now is allowing plant-based, not just burgers, but now plant-based steaks to be made. And it's not just made. I posted it all over social media today, but there are these Israeli guys putting together, no lie, and I've got the full details in the story here. They are making fake plant-based steaks in a lab using a 3D printer. Now, when you think the food supply has gone off the deep end, you ain't heard nothing yet until you hear this story. Headline, Israeli startup unveils world's first 3D printed vegan steak. So there's the vegan steak. They got all the trimmings, making it look all pretty. Looks just like a steak. Isn't that wonderful? Israeli startup Redefine Meat. Why do we need to redefine meat? Meat is meat. This has always been my trouble with Beyond Meat and some of the other names that they put on these fake burgers and now these fake steak companies. They're putting meat in the title. And I think that's by design, you guys, because I believe if you put meat in the title, then the consumer will walk by and go, oh, there's some meat. And they won't stop and think, oh my gosh, that's not real meat. So they're redefining meat, all right. They are already trying to tell the consumer, okay, you know that thing you've always thought of as meat? Yeah, it's unhealthy and some of the things they're going to talk about in here, but we're redefining meat, and this is what meat actually is. So they're trying to move the goalpost a bit, that the definition of meat isn't just comes from a cow, comes from a chicken, comes from an animal, but now it comes from a looks and tastes and is kind of sort of like, and now that's considered meat as well. It's weird. Redefine Meat unveiled this week what it said was the world's first plant-based steak created using patent-pending 3D printing technology. Now, in the video that I posted all over social media, if you missed it, go to one of my pages, but these guys literally have a 3D printer right there, and they're squirting out all these little things we'll talk about that they put in it, so it will create this steak that then can be replicated, and their goal is to try to create a whole cow's worth of steaks with one printer each day. And they think it's going to be a good thing. The details of this are just sordid. So the company is based in Rehovot, said it will start testing the beef, which is called alt steak. So they're calling it alt steak. So you notice how they have to keep steak in the title? I'm thinking, if it's all that good for you, why do you have to pretend like it's meat? Why do you have to pretend like it's steak? Okay, it's alt steak. I don't know, that's deceptive to me. At select high-end restaurants, they'll be serving this steak in Israel later this year. The product will be offered as part of a chef's dish with the option of ordering the printed plant-based steak instead of the regular meat choice, according to Redefine Meat CEO and co-founder Eshjar Ben Shatrit. So they hope to replace this as beef on these high-end menus. And the way they're in, you guys, with this, is it's going to be much, much cheaper for them to make a steak synthetically like this than to have a cow steak. Like, is this disturbing on any level to people of sensibility? Like, who thinks it's a good idea that creating a steak in a lab is going to be far superior to steak from a cow? No, we're leaving out the CAFO cows, the grass-fed cows. We're talking about making a steak in a lab. And if they pretend like the quality of the ingredients that they put in this, which is God knows what, and the quality of the proteins and the fats and everything that goes into a steak, they think they've mimicked it, and yet it's just this chemical crap storm. Wait till you find out how they make this. With feedback from high-level butchers and chefs, the company said it will ramp up production of its 3D meat printers and alt meat formulations ahead of coming to the market in 2021. Guys, we are less than a year from this kind of thing coming to the marketplace. It was founded in early 2018 by this guy that I mentioned earlier, this Eshjar Ben Shatrit. And he's a former meat consumer. He then created Redefined Meat to create a vegan meat alternative using digital processes in order to reduce meat consumption and keep food waste at bay. See, this is the slippery slope, guys. When the vegan plant-based movement tries to say meat is doing this, meat is harming the climate, meat is harming your health, meat's the cause of all cause mortality, meat, bad, 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 that message gets so ingrained in people because it's never really challenged on a grand scale. And then out comes these kinds of products that says, oh, well, you already know meat is harming the planet. You already know meat's harming your health. We already know meat is a deadly substance. So therefore, we know you like to eat meat though. Oh, bless your heart. We know you love it. So we have come up with the perfect solution. We're going to basically make copies of a fake meat product and serve it to you and tell you it's steak. That's what's happening here. The company developed technology for industrial 3D printing of vegan meat substitutes using all plant-based formulations by printing with multiple materials, which they're not telling you what those materials are. They say it can create sustainable, high-protein, no-cholesterol steaks that look, cook, and taste like beef. See, this is the part of the problem with lack of food education. Because if you're an educated foodie, you know that this concept is absolutely absurd. You know the idea of trying to replace a beef cow steak with some chemical crap storm, which we know with the Beyond Meat burgers, they have 29 different ingredients in there, and it's just one big chemical crap storm galore. And the smell is putrid. I had one last year just to taste on camera on Jimmy Rants, and it was rough. But now they've got this, and they're bragging about it. Oh, it's sustainable. Well, sustainable why? And it's pretending like cows aren't sustainable. And yet we know from the work of Alan Savory and others, it's highly sustainable with animals. And what happens to the planet if we don't have animals grazing, pooping, and all the things that great animals do to the environment? This is the part of the discussion they're not talking about. High protein, but what kind of protein? It's not the kind of protein that comes from animal foods. Animal foods have all the amino acids your body needs. All the proteins that your body can use and utilize well. What are they putting in this burger? Yes, it might be high in protein, but what kind of protein? Is it pea protein? Where are the other amino acids that would come into play? A lot of questions. No cholesterol steak. All right, so no cholesterol. What is cholesterol harmful? Last time I checked, the 2015 dietary guideline says that cholesterol in your diet is no longer a nutrient of concern. So why is no cholesterol in this steak a big deal? It's not. And they look, cook, and taste like beef. And this is the big one, you guys. The average consumer who only knows what tastes good and only eats food based on taste and how it looks, they're not going to know and be any the wiser. I wonder what percentage of the population is that way, though, because it seems to me a lot more people are awakened to what they're doing to the food supply, and they're looking for real whole foods. Nobody in the keto, carnivore, paleo, real food space would ever buy something like this. Why would you? You would eat the real McCoy. You wouldn't try to eat a fake one. You wouldn't. And yet, how many consumers will say, oh, it looks and cooks and tastes like beef. Oh my gosh, Like if they told me, okay, look, guys, we have come up with a formulation for the perfect, perfect alternative to an avocado. It's got all the texture, it's got all the taste and the mouthfeel and everything you look for. It's everything you ever wanted in an avocado without an avocado. Oh, by the way, it's made of human feces. Would you eat that? No, of course you wouldn't. But that's exactly what they're trying to pull off here. Well, we make it look like beef and taste like beef and have all the everything of beef, and yet it's made of a chemical crap storm that's then 3D printed. You see how it's so incredibly absurd? Redefined Meat developed a unique 3D printing technology that the company uses to develop and manufacture the product called Alt Meat. The process brings together industry experience in food engineering and additive manufacturing. So why do we need food engineering and manufacturing of additives? Why not eat real whole foods? Last time I checked, the only engineer and additive producer for those things is God. Using a digitally driven machine, but that's the only similarity to 3D printing. The technology isn't about creating shape, but actually creating a macro structure that can combine a desired texture with a desired flavor, in addition to all the other sensory parameters required in a food product. The company is committed to creating a tasty and affordable plant-based alternative to steaks, one of the most cherished food products and driver of the entire meat industry. So here's the thing. If people desire steaks, and it's the most heart-desired thing that people want, that consumers are going to be for, is to have a steak. I had some ribeyes yesterday, so I understand. If that's what's driving them there, why, pray tell, is it wrong to have red meat? Like, I don't think they're articulating clearly enough what's wrong with meat. The problem, you guys know this, but the problem is they know nothing's wrong with meat, but they're trying to put on this false front that there is something wrong with meat, and so therefore create meat as the boogeyman, swoop in with this alt steak product as the solution to the problem, and they think they have a business idea that's worth multi-millions of dollars. That's really all this is about, by the way. Don't fool yourself into thinking this is anything more than money driven. If you convince people that meat is the enemy in your health, you give them so-called evidence based on epidemiological studies that shows somehow consuming lots of meat in your diet is somehow going to kill you, give you heart disease, and all the rest of the things they say. Then you add on top of it that you're killing the animals, and you hate animals, and and you're murderers because you do that. Then you add on top of that you're harming the environment, that's creating greenhouse gases from cows farting and methane gases, and therefore we got a hole in the ozone layer. You see how they've amped it up to this level that people have become so fearful of real whole foods in the form of meat that now they might, just maybe, be willing to put this crap in their mouth instead. To enable mass adoption, we knew that we needed to create an alternative meat product that was both high in quality. How do you make high quality crap? And nutritional composition. It would require new technologies and production processes that have never been seen before in the food industry. You know, we've survived up until this point as a human species. So if we've been able to survive on the so-called horrible meat, horribleness that's in our food supply, why do they think we suddenly need new technologies and production processes that we've never seen before in the food supply? What answers do they have that we don't know about already? Redefined Meat works with leading butchers, chefs, food technologists, and collaborated with Swiss flavors and fragrances manufacturer. Why do we need Swiss fragrance manufacturer being involved? Are they putting like perfume in this thing? Like, what? I guess because they're good at mixing chemicals to get the right smell. And if they can put that process of what they do to perfumes at work into a food product, they can get the right smell so it smells like it's a dead cow. I don't know. So that fragrance manufacturer is called Givaudan, and their role is to digitally map more than 70 different sensorial parameters into its alt steak. They're looking for things like appearance, texture, juiciness, fat distribution, and the feel of a premium cut of beef. Again, look at all the trouble they're going through, you guys, just to simulate what God did with a cow. Like, am I crazy? But when you become a vegan, when you go plant-based, isn't the goal to, I don't know, put the focus on plants and eating plants in their whole form and having real forms of food? To me, that seems like that's what you would do if you decide to go plant-based. Why do you need a meat that's made out of plants? To me, if you need a meat substitute in order to fit your vegan lifestyle, maybe you haven't really fully embraced your vegan lifestyle. Maybe you need to redefine in your mind why you went plant-based to begin with. Is this really in your heart? Or do you want to eat your old ways and just keep this as a crutch? And then I put this in my post that I wrote about this on social media. I said, look, giving a vegan a plant-based steak and plant-based burgers, I think what you're doing is you're continuing their desire for those things so that it never really takes away the desire for wanting real meat. Now you could say, okay, we still have all these plant-based burgers and steaks and things like that available that they could keep eating. But if you keep eating that, it means you have this propensity for wanting those things in your diet still. What would stop you from eating a real steak? Because the temptation and the cravings became too much, right? Collaborating with Givaudan has led to the creation of an alt steak product that is not only healthy and sustainable, but also offers all the satisfying flavors, textures, and aromas of eating actual meat. Like, this almost reads like an Onion story. As I was reading this and when I watched those videos, definitely watch the videos, go to my social media pages, but when you watch the videos, these guys are so super excited. Oh, we can do exactly what a cow does, only better. And I'm going, do you hear yourself talking? Because what you're saying is so freaking absurd. It's not even funny. Eating food, and especially beef, is considered the most complicated sensory experience. It's essentially a combination of physical elements like texture, temperature, amount of liquid, with chemical elements like flavor, smell, and taste. And if this isn't enough, they are all changing while we eat from the process of eating and have interaction with one another. Replicating beef requires getting a good enough score in almost all these parameters all at the same time. If you have the perfect texture but the flavor is subpar, your score will not be 70%, it will be 0. We had to work hard to get great texture, combine the right flavor, work on the look, followed by cooking behavior. We still have room to improve on all these fronts, but have passed the threshold that we believe was most critical. So, guys, they have scientifically manipulated this in a lab to the point that they feel like they have the perfect product. We have convinced the consumer meat is harming them. Okay? That was the first thing. Now, you convince them it's harming the planet, it's harming the animals, blah, blah, blah. Okay, we got them fooled. Brainwashing is in full effect. All right, so now that they're fooled, now we got to come up with an alternative that invites them to embrace the message even more. Oh, you missed those steaks? We know you missed steak. We know you really want to put a big juicy steak in your mouth, and guess what? Alt steak is on the way. Never mind, it's made from a 3D planner with a... Don't tell them how the sausage is made. Just tell them you got sausage. And that's how they're going to make this work. Redefined Meat uses special ink and 3D printers to print the steaks out. The printers use 3 separate formulations or ink. The company calls it alt muscle, alt fat, and alt blood as a means of printing the meat. And if you look at the videos that I posted on social media, you can literally see it looks like toothpaste coming out, and it's a white toothpaste, and it's a red toothpaste, and it's a darker red toothpaste, and it's all these things that they're layering on top of each other so that when it kind of melds and is into this 3D printer, it turns into a steak. But it's the most wicked thing you've ever seen. Go watch those videos if you missed it. These formulations, get this guys, these formulations are made from natural. There ain't nothing natural about this at all. Nothing. But it's natural, whatever the heck that means. Poop is natural, but I'm not eating it. Sustainable, again, we talked about that. Cows are very sustainable. Go look up Alan Savory's work. So they're putting this message out there about the sustainability. It's not, yeah, it's bogus. And widely consumed plant-based ingredients. Okay, just because they're widely consumed, I assume they're referring to soybeans? Corn, I guess? I'm trying to think of like what widely consumed plant-based ingredients would be in there. Probably some of the seed oils are definitely in there as well, right? Redefined Meat has a bank of special 3D models corresponding to the different cuts of beef. So if you're trying to make a sirloin steak, they got a certain setting. If they're trying to make a ribeye, a certain setting. If they got a porterhouse, a certain setting, so forth and so on. These models are loaded onto the machine together with the alt muscle, fat, and blood. The machine then starts the printing process according to the file, creating the food product dot by dot, layer by layer, all with the click of a button. This is stuff somebody's supposed to put in their mouth. Can you imagine how many people would actually eat this if they saw the whole process of how it was made? Although I will tell you, Jamie Oliver many years ago had a TV show here in America where he had a teaching opportunity in front of kids. And one day he asked the kids, do you like chicken McNuggets? Yeah, we like chicken McNuggets. He's like, okay, let me show you how a chicken McNugget is made. So all the kids are sitting there watching him, and he pulls out this big bucket of like bones and leftover parts and pieces of chicken carcasses and stuff, and he puts it through a grinder, and he grinds it out until it's this pink sludge slime. And the kids are all going, ew. And then when the slime comes out, he forms it in the shape of a chicken nugget, and he breads it, and he does all the things. He deep fries it, puts it all on a big plate, and says, okay, kids, so you just saw how a chicken nugget was made. How many of you want a chicken nugget? And at first it was kind of like, and then finally they were like, me, me, me. Even with the knowledge of knowing how it was made, the disgustingness of what it was, they still wanted it. And I'm wondering how many adults would be that way about this. You know how it's made. You know the process it took to get there. You know it's just a manufactured food-like product, and yet you still want to stick it in your mouth. Some adults will be that way. What percentage, I don't know, but it'd be enough. It's enough that there's people backing companies like this one and others with real money because they realize the consumer has been so duped. It's sad. All right. It's mesmerizing to see how at the beginning you have nothing and then you have something, talking about the printing process. As simple as it sounds, in the food industry, it doesn't work like that usually. Redefined Meat aims to sell printers and cartridges to distributors around the world. They've started working on a factory in Israel to launch a future pilot. The plan is to launch pilots locally as well as in Europe. And their new vegan steak announcement marks the start of a new era in the alternative meat market, the alt steak era, driven by production processes that will accelerate the development of a wide range of alt meat, whole muscle products, and create a sustainable alternative to raising and eating animals. Okay, so steaks are just the start, you guys. What about the alt chicken? the alt turkey, the alt lamb, which would be a bad idea. Sorry, I couldn't resist. They're going to take this in every sector of meat products. What about the alt egg? Can you imagine all the stuff they would do to try to mimic an egg? And is this bizarro world or what? Like, do they really feel like they could pull this off? The fact that they're even trying it means they've got some kind of market space, market research that has shown them there would be a demand for this kind of product. To me, that's disturbing. And don't you know, there won't be any randomized controlled clinical trials looking at people eating this as their sole source of sustenance. Redefined Meat is one of several companies, they're not the only ones, you guys, in the Israel food tech sector focused in on sustainable alternatives. Mia Tech, for example, is a company founded also in 2018 in Nes Ziona. They use stem cells from animals, which they then print cultured meat and meat alternative foods that don't involve harming any animals. So the stem cell research and taking bits of an animal's DNA and trying to replicate it through cloning, that's been out there for many years, cloning cows. And I remember doing, I think it was about 2009, there was a story about cloning cows and would you eat meat from a cloned cow? That's happening. The company announced in June that it raised $6 million from investors, including from one of the largest supermarket chains in Israel called Rami Levy. Mia Tech merged with a real estate investment firm in October, and they're now trading on the Tel Aviv stock market exchange. Several Israeli startups are also working to develop clean meat solutions as an alternative to the rising levels of meat consumption. Aleph Farms, a clean meat company recognized last month in World Economic Forum's 2020 Technology Pioneers list, they have now unveiled the world's first lab-grown steak prototype, grown from animal cells, and they use 3D technology and have done this since late 2018. Another Israeli biotechnology startup called Supermeat, developing lab-grown poultry extracted from stem cells of a live chicken. In October, Future Meat Technologies, an Israeli company that already develops lab-grown meat, announced it was opening the first cultured meat production plant near Tel Aviv this year, backed by a major food company. The company's tech is based on Professor Yaakov Namia's research. He has said that Future Meat is the only company that can produce animal fat without harvesting animals and without genetic modification. So we could have fake lard, fake tallow. And my question is, where does this stop? Like, once this is allowed and once it's out there and once you've fooled people enough that they buy into this propaganda and they start buying into that this is a real thing that they should be putting in their mouth, it's very concerning if you're a part of the real food movement. And it's very frightening if you stop and think about it. Because when they talk about wanting to eliminate all meat consumption by the year 2035, it seems absurd. But if you provide a meat-like product that people can't tell the difference in the taste and flavor and texture and all the things they love about meat, and they can't tell the difference between that and real meat, unless you can convince them what the positive is in consuming actual meat, they're going to embrace a product like this, and perhaps, just maybe, they could reach that goal of convincing people to buy this stuff over the real McCoy. And I also wonder, especially what's happened during COVID-19 with the rise in prices. I bought 3 ribeye steaks the other day from Sam's Club. Normally 3 ribeye steaks I could get for right around $25, $30. Okay? It was 50 bucks for the same 3 ribeye steaks. And I wonder if they're going to continue to manipulate the markets to make real meat more expensive. And then in swoops this alt steak and some of these other products that are significantly cheaper, but yet still premium priced enough that they're making a boatload of profits. And once the profits start rolling in from this very cheap thing to make, then they can reinvest in more of these 3D printer machines to create more, and then you can get rid and you can push out the meat market altogether. Now, obviously, those of us that are in the know would still never embrace this other one. We would still buy the meat even if it was more expensive, and we'd make sacrifices in other parts of our budget so we can get what we need. But wow, like this is serious, you guys. And I think we can laugh about a story like this, or we can go, oh, we need to speak up now before they come and take our real whole foods. All right, let's see what you guys have to say. I'm going to pop over here to Instagram first, then over to Facebook, finally over to YouTube. Thank you all for being here today on Jimmy Rants. JimmyRants.com is the website. See what you have to say. Johnny says 3D printed steaks. What the? Yeah, and it's not just steaks. It's plant-based steaks. That's the sad part. The Carnitarian says, no, I would never eat that 3D printed oily fake steak stuff. Snake oily, more like it. Beth says, 15 years of good living before I die of selective genocide. Yeah, you eat this and it's going to not be good for your health in any way, shape, form, or fashion. Does anyone else have to keep going in and out due to no sound? Oh, sorry, Linda. I think everybody can hear me though, or I would have heard something sooner, I think. But let me know. Can you hear me, you guys? Can you hear me now? Because I would love to fix that. Sorry about that if you couldn't hear me the whole time. Otherwise, it would look kind of weird, right? Thank you, Instagram. Let me pop over here to my Facebook page and see what you guys have to say. What's up, guys? I'm actually very grossed out by the thought of all this, says Tracy. Yeah, it's pretty gross. Kira says, I'm in infotech, and while I love 3D printers and all the good they have provided for us, printing fake meat was never what I imagined. So what's next? Soylent Green. Yeah, a lot of people, when I posted that earlier, they said, oh my gosh, that Soylent Green was prophetic because it's not too far from the truth. How many carbs in one of these 3D steaks, says Kurt? Yeah, I have no idea. I know the plant-based burgers have a significant amount of carbohydrates because of the ingredients they put in there. So I don't know. I would assume that it would be obviously much more than a regular steak. I don't know how you make a fake steak out of just plant-based foods and then not have it be loaded with carbohydrates at the same time. Alexander, 3D printed meat, that's craziness. I for sure will never eat one. Yeah, I don't think you're alone in that, Alexander. I'm so glad I buy my meat and eggs from a local farmer, says Anita. Yeah, I have my chickens back there basically pooping me out breakfast every day, so I'm very grateful to them for giving me real whole food, and then I could eat the chickens at some point if I choose to do that. Red meat, you guys, has been very expensive lately because of all that happened with COVID-19 and the shutdowns of the meat, manufacturers, blah, blah, blah. So I'm hoping that that's fixed and resolved and the prices come back to some semblance of normal again, but it has been a challenge. Tracy says, with my IBS, I cannot tolerate veggies much at all. I have to eat meat. And you're the kind of person, Tracy, that I wonder how they're going to address this. Like, how do you explain to someone like yourself, okay, well, meat's harming the environment, meat's means this, meat's that, and that you need to eat it for your health? I guess your life doesn't matter in this. Your thoughts on this don't matter in this. It's about the collective good. And so if you have to die off because you don't get the things you need, oh well. I mean, like, I almost feel like that's how they take the position sometimes about things. All right, thank you, Facebook. Let me pop over to my YouTube channel. I saw a bunch of comments coming in all throughout this Jimmy Rants. Wow, look at all those comments. Edith says, I'll stick to poultry as a wiser choice. Good job. Linda said, had to leave Instagram. Well, I'm glad you found your way onto YouTube. Let's see. Shirley says, nasty. I choose to keep my chemicals underneath my sink. Exactly. Mike says, this is so crazy. It seems like a Twilight Zone episode. Oh, it's very real. I promise you. Kim says, why worry only about the animals' lives? Why don't they worry about the plant lives? Why don't, they should become breatharians. That's a real thing, by the way, you guys. Look up breatharian. Edith says, love the Aquafresh reference. Yeah, it looks just like Aquafresh, squirting out of the little tube there. Oh, Shirley has the line of the day. Alt steak should be renamed Miss Steak. I like what you did there, Shirley. That's good. Kim says we need to invest in the 3D printer companies now. Yeah, but I'm not going to be a part of an investment group that helps to proliferate this any more than it has to be. Toots says, well, hopefully we all will wake up to all the crap that they've been feeding us for years. Yes, exactly. Exactly. All right. Well, thank you, YouTube. See if there's any final comments over here on Instagram. Switched over to YouTube so I could hear you well. I'm glad you did. Everybody else seems to have heard me, but thank you for that. All right, so yeah, this is real, you guys. Judy says, I'm a 4th generation rancher. I'll stick to eating beef, thank you. Yeah, try telling a rancher, a 4th generation rancher, oh yeah, you know that thing that your whole family has been predicated on and nobody's actually died from eating it, nobody's actually had any harm come to them, but yeah, you're not supposed to eat that anymore, so here's our fake one, you know. I don't know how this is gonna fly in the real world, but they're trying, guys, and it's yet another move by the vegan movement to try to make us all plant-based. And I don't think it's going to work, but they are voracious and tenacious, and they're not going to give up until they get what they want. That's it for this episode of Jimmy Rants. JimmyRants.com is the website, and as always, you can engage live in the content. Go follow me over on Instagram. I'm at Livin' Low Carb Man, LIVINLOWCARBMAN. Once you're there, engage live. We also simulcast live over here on my Facebook page, so thank you guys for watching today. We also simulcast over on YouTube. Thank you all for being here today on Jimmy Rants. If you missed the live here on Instagram, we do have it on replay on IGTV, so just hop on over there. We also put the past episodes up over on YouTube. Type in a keyword Jimmy Rants, you'll find the show. Finally, go over to the official website for this show, JimmyRants.com, and once you're there, you can see all the past episodes. Click on the Patreon link if you like what we do here. I try to give you cutting edge information and be kind of fun at the same time. So click on the Patreon link. Really, any donation of any amount would be greatly appreciated. That's it for now, you guys. I'm going to pop off of here, and we'll be back again real soon. Bye. All right. Whew. So yeah, funky things happening in the food supply, but we'll just keep trudging on. I have a busy day, you guys. I did a podcast before Jimmy Rants, and then I had Jimmy Rants, got a podcast after this, then I've got a business meeting this afternoon. It's just a crazy, crazy day for me, but we will be back again real soon. Thanks for watching.